The Second City is an improvisational comedy enterprise, best known as the first ever ongoing improvisational theater troupe in the United States and Canada. It also has programs that run out of Los Angeles. It began in 1950s, as small groups of undergraduates, including young actors such as Mike Nichols and Elaine May, who met at Jimmy's Woodlawn Tap, a bar on the University of Chicago campus, which later became the Compass Players, a 1950s cabaret revue show. The Second City Theatre opened on December 16, 1959, and has since expanded its presence to several other cities, including Toronto and Los Angeles. The Second City has produced television programs in both the United States and Canada, including SCTV, Second City Presents, and Next Comedy Legend. Since its debut, The Second City has consistently been a starting point for comedians, award-winning actors, directors, and others in show business. History. The Second City chose its self-mocking name from the title of an article about Chicago by A. J. Liebling that appeared in The New Yorker in 1952. In 1959, the first Second City revue show premiered at 1842 North Wells Street, and the company moved a few blocks south to 1616 North Wells. In 1967, Bernard Salins, Howard Alk and Paul Sills, son of teacher Viola Spolin, founded the theatre as a place where scenes and story were created improvisationally, using techniques that grew out of the innovative techniques Spolin developed and taught, later known as theatre games, with Sills as its director. The cabaret theatre, comedy style of the Second City tended towards satire and commentary of current social norms and political figures and events. In 1961, the theatre sent a cast to Broadway with the musical revue, From the Second City, directed by Sills and earning a Tony nomination for ensemble member Seven Darden. Eventually, the theatre expanded to include 3 touring companies and a second resident company, and now fosters a company devoted to outreach and diversity. The style of comedy has changed with time, but the format has remained constant. Second City revues feature a mix of semi-improvised and scripted scenes, with new material developed during unscripted improv sessions after the second act, where scenes are created based on audience suggestions. A number of well-known performers began careers as part of the historic troupe and later moved to television and film. In 1973, Second City opened a theatre in Toronto. By the mid-1970s, both venues became a source of cast members for Saturday Night Live and SCTV, which borrowed many of the writing and performing techniques pioneered by Second City and other improv groups. In 1983, the adjoining E.T.C. Theatre became the second residence stage in Old Town, Chicago location, handling overflow crowds and increasing the number of resident company members. Co-founder Bernard Salins owned the theatre company until 1985, before selling it to Andrew Alexander and Len Stewart. Along with its theatres, training centres, and television shows, Second City also produces improv and sketch shows for Norwegian Cruise Line. In the 2000s, Second City began producing theatrical shows, bringing their brand of social and political satire to regional theatres around the country in revues that featured sketches written for and about each location, including Phoenix, Boston, Baltimore, Dallas, and Louisville. In 2015, the Chicago location suffered from a fire. SCTV, Second City Television, or SCTV, was a Canadian television sketch comedy show offshoot from the Toronto troupe of the Second City and ran from 1976 to 1984. The basic premise of SCTV was modeled on a television station in the fictional city of Melonville. Rather than broadcast the usual TV rerun fare, The Business, run by the greedy Guy Caballero sitting in a wheelchair only to gain sympathy and leverage in business and staff negotiations, operates a bizarre and humorously incompetent range of cheap local programming. The range included a soap opera called The Days of the Week, game shows such as Shoot the Stars, in which celebrities literally are shot at in similar fashion to targets in a shooting gallery, and movie spoofs such as Play It Again, Bob, in which Woody Allen attempts to entice Bob Hope to star in his next film. In-house media melodrama also was satirized by John Candy's vain, bloated variety star character Johnny LaRue, Thomas's acerbic critic Bill Needle, and Andrea Martin's flamboyant, leopard skin-clad station manager, Mrs. Edith Prickley. Catherine O'Hara's washed-up, alcoholic, narcissist former leading lady Lola Heatherton, and Eugene Levy's crass talk show host, Sammy Maudlin. Martin Short originated his dorky, Ed Grimley character here, which he later brought to Saturday Night Live. Andrew Alexander took the reins of Second City Toronto in 1974 and formed a partnership with Len Stewart in 1976, starting the Second City Entertainment Company. Its first television production was SCTV. Alexander co-developed and executive produced over 185 half-hour shows for the award-winning comedy series, and produced over 150 hours of award-winning television comedy. Alexander has had co-production deals with MGM Television, Imagine Films, Disney Studios and United Artists, and has developed television programming for CBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, Comedy Central, HBO, Showtime, and A&E. He has produced movies and television with such notable talents as John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, Bonnie Hunt, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, Rick Moranis, Catherine O'Hara, Martin Short, Harold Ramis, Dave Thomas, James Belushi, George Wendt, Edward Asner, Andrea Martin, Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert and Tina Fey. In 1985, Alexander and Stewart became owners of Chicago's Second City. He has produced or executive produced over 200 Second City revues in Canada and the United States. Most recently, Alexander has expanded the Second City TV and film division with offices in Los Angeles and Toronto, and was executive producer on the recently released feature film Intern Academy. He serves on the Columbia College Board of Trustees, is chair of the Gilders Club Honorary Board, and is also an honorary member of the Chicago Gilders Club Board. Alexander has received numerous awards including the Canadian Comedy Awards Chairman's Award, Gilders Magic Award from Gilders Club, the League of Chicago Theater's 2009 Artistic Leadership Award, and named 2009 Chicagoan of the Year by Chicago Tribune. Awards. As of 2014 update, the Second City has been awarded 37 Equity Joseph Jefferson Awards, which have recognized him for Best Review 5 times, the first being Paradigm Lost. The review's director, Mick Napier, is one of several directors recognized by the Jeffs, a list that includes founder Bernard Salins and improv guru Del Close. 16 alumni have received Jeff Awards for their performances in Second City revues, including David Pasquesi, Jackie Hoffman, Shelley Long, and Nia Vardalos, with Rachel Dratch and Keegan-Michael Key each being honored twice. In 2009, as the company was celebrating its 50th year, the Second City was awarded an honorary Jeff for the milestone, as well as 3 awards for the ETC's 33rd review Studs Terkel's Not Working, recognizing director Matt Hovde and actress Amanda Blake Davis and naming it Best Review. In 2011, the ETC's 35th review Sky's the Limit won the Jeff for Best New Work, as well Best Review and Best Actor, for ensemble member Tim Baltz. The following year, the ETC's 36th review We're All in This Together won for Best Review and Best Director of a Review. while ensemble member Edgar Blackman took home the Jeff for Best Actor, Actress in a review for his work in Who Do We Think We Are? On the Second City main stage. In 2013, the Jeff Awards awarded Best Production Review to a Second City show not housed at the venue on Wells Street, The Second City Guide to Opera, a collaboration with the Lyric Opera of Chicago that had been initiated by soprano and lyric creative consultant Renee Fleming, with Best Director Review going to Billy Bungeroth. Toronto's Second City main stage troupe has won 10 Canadian Comedy Awards. Best Improv Troupe, Best Sketch Troupe, and Best Comedic Play winners Family Circus Maximus, Psychedelicatessen, Facebook of Revelations, Back to the Future, 0% Down, 100% Screwed and Something Wicked Awesome This Way Comes. The Second City on Film. Goldstein, the directing debut of Philip Kaufman, featured several members including Sevan Darden, Jack Burns, and Del Close, as well as teacher Viola Spolin. A modern-day interpretation of the story of Elijah, it won the Prix de la Nouvelle Critique at the Cannes Film Festival, and Jean Renoir called it the best American film he'd seen in 20 years. The Monitors, a satirical alien invasion film in which Earth's invaders run the planet as though they were 1950s hallway monitors, featuring members Avery Schreiber, Alan Arkin, Fred Kaz, and Peter Boyle. Second to None, a documentary by Matt Hoffman and Scott Silberstein about the process of writing Paradigm Lost, following the cast and director Napier from the initial rehearsal through opening night. Originally narrated by Alan Jim Belushi, the film was reworked, with rehearsal footage added, 10 years after its initial release. The Second City, First Family of Comedy, a documentary by Sharon Bartlett and Alim Dave Thomas in 3 parts, focusing on the origins of the Second City in Chicago, the life of SCTV, and the success of notable alumni, including Tina Fey, Mike Myers, Ryan Stiles, Patrick McKenna, and Martin Short. I Want Someone to Eat Cheese With, an independent film starring, written, directed and produced by Jeff Garlin, himself a former Second City actor, features scenes shot within the Second City Chicago Theater, and features several of its alumni, including Mina Cole, David Pasquesi, Amy Sedaris, Richard Kind, Dan Castellaneta, Tim Kazurinsky, and Bonnie Hunt.